We've seen nat gas prices just pummeled this year, down something like 55% year to date. Does the price actually matter if you're continuing to see output at these higher levels, you're continuing to see storage fill up, and thus there's a need for all of that gas to be moved through pipelines and infrastructure and the like?
Yeah, thank you, Morgan. Certainly natural gas prices ultimately lower prices drive demand. And we certainly are seeing that here in April. Actually, we saw power generation load for the April numbers came out, and power generation load was up about 2 BCF per day. So that's about 8% increase on demand as a result of lower prices as gas pushes coal out as an opportunity there. So, yeah, lower prices will create demand. That's what we sell is capacity and throughput. And so from a Williams perspective, low prices are not such a bad thing. We do have some exposure to natural gas prices, but for the most part, certainly for a long-term investor, it's actually a really big positive for us to see prices moderated, certainly from where they were last year and last summer when we saw prices get to $8 or $9.
Yeah, you just mentioned those production assets, the upstream assets. Do you plan to hang on to those? How are you thinking about that?
Yeah, that's certainly not our business. I'll remind you, we picked those up during the last downturn, particularly in 2020, where we had customers that owed us for expansions, and so we picked those up through the bankruptcy process. And we brought in new operators to develop those. We're not actually operating that property. And it's a very small piece of our overall business. And certainly, as we mentioned on our earnings call this morning, the for sale sign's always open on those assets, but we're not in a hurry, and we've got a lot of development to do, a lot of growth opportunity for our operator, Crowheart, up in the Wyoming area to further develop that. In the Haynesville, GeoSouthern's been the operator there, and they've done a fantastic job of growing the volumes in the Haynesville for us.
Yeah. In terms of the midstream business and the infrastructure build out, permitting of new projects been a key topic for the industry. A lot of focus on D.C. and whether we're going to see some changes for the better. Your outlook?
The good news, I think, is we've started to see the administration recognize the importance. There was a letter from Secretary Granholm that came out last week mentioning the importance of natural gas infrastructure, and particularly related to Mountain Valley Pipeline. We are thrilled to see that, and really that's at a lot of the impetus from a lot of the big utility leaders who are really making sure that the administration understands that for us to electrify a lot of the loads here in the U.S., we are going to have natural gas coupled with renewables to be able to drive those incremental loads for electric demand. And so thanks to the utility execs, I think, that are really starting to point out the need for natural gas infrastructure along with electric transmission infrastructure. And so it's getting pretty clear, I think, particularly to the moderate Democrats and obviously to the Republicans. I think it's very clear that we've got to straighten out our permitting reform to take advantage of what the world needs, which is low-priced, affordable natural gas, which can dramatically reduce our emissions right here, right now, and as well provide affordable energy and certainly energy security for U.S. allies.
That's for sure. Alan, I wonder if I can get you to comment a little more broadly on the last couple of weeks where there have been peaks at crude, RBOB demand going into summer blend season, diesel demand, and people arguing that it is really a giant macro tell. Do you think it's a legitimate one?
Well, I think, it's hard to make trends out of some short-term peaks, but we certainly are showing strong signs of a resurgence in demand. We're seeing the same thing on our natural gas systems as well. And so, I'm far from the guy to ask about the oil and crude and refined products business, but certainly we are seeing signs of resurgence in demand in the natural gas industry as well.
Yeah, and of course, the Freeport LNG facility coming back online is probably going to be pretty positive for some of that inventory getting worked through on the natural gas side as well. Alan, appreciate your time today. Alan Armstrong, the CEO of Williams.
Thank you very much.